So as Christians, 3 things that we can do: we can be humble, we can be collaborative, and we can be excellent. And as long as we're doing those 3 things, we won't miss, and we'll excel in any industry that we find ourselves in.
Yeah,
That's good.
very nice.
Welcome to Work Week.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Work Week Podcast. We're so excited to be with you today. I got with me today Juan Urrutia again, and we got Mr. Mike Falabi, our producer, who is on today.
Yo.
And today we want to talk about something that I feel like each and every one of us that's on the podcast, and even some that are watching, have had to grapple with at one point or another. It's like the term Christian, when that is placed before anything else. So like Christian music, Christian dating, Christian, and it kind of has the connotation that's like a negative connotation. So it's like it's unpopular, it's kind of corny, the music isn't as good, or the vibe or the style isn't as good. And so we want to talk about that today, something that we all have thought about at one point or another, something that we've all had to like grapple with. And so we can just jump right in, just like initial thoughts from everybody.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me is like we just saw Steph Curry and the Warriors win the championship in the NBA.
Christian athlete.
And I remember Steph like coming in the league, maybe even mid in his career. It was like, oh, he was the Christian basketball player that like wrote "In God We Trust" on his shoes, and then now seeing him like cussing people out in the finals type of thing, where it's like, oh, he's not Christian anymore because he's cussing. Yeah. It's like, where's the line in being like a celebrity, a Christian celebrity? Like, what you're held to a higher standard that like regular Christians be cussing, but Steph is on a platform, or we can see him cussing. So now it's it's just like a. Yeah, what does that look like? Like,
well,
it
is an interesting nuance, because I feel like it's like the scripture that says like we're quick to point out the speck in our neighbor's eye when we have a plank in our own eye.
Yeah.
And I think we sometimes forget that people, regardless of level of influence, are people at the end of the day. And so I think that we have less grace for celebrity Christians or Christian athletes as a result of their platform. That's not to say that like we shouldn't be responsible no matter what level of, notoriety or celebrity we have.
For sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, there also needs to be like the same measure of grace that's extended to like every person, because people are going to make mistakes. We're flawed, we're fallen, we're all these things. But it is interesting because, like to your point, people will be like, well, he's not a Christian because he has tattoos, or because he was doing like stuff, and like at the parade he was drinking and he was having like a good time. But it's so funny because what I've found is like the squeakiest wheels, like the people who usually say the most about people like that,
talk about it,
are usually the ones that are doing it privately and secretly anyway. So it's just crazy.
Money.
It's kind of crazy to me. I don't know. What do you think, Juan?
I think Christian people are quick to put people on a pedestal, and therefore they expect a lot of that person, especially people that are in like higher places. I think the one that I've seen the most as far as like all of this stuff is definitely Christian music in general.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the rappers and stuff like that. They can't do anything. Like they can't do anything without somebody having something to say about it. You can't dress a certain way. You can't say certain things in your music. You can't talk about certain topics. I was talking with Falabi the other day. What was it? JPMs?
Oh yeah, there used to be like the amount of times you said Jesus in a song.
Yeah.
Jesus per minute count, bro.
And it's such an interesting nuance of being a Christian rapper. And like a lot of these artists are now kind of not struggling with it, but kind of talking about it more. Is like, am I an artist that happens to be a Christian? Because people with like, I think it's like Most Def is Muslim, but he's not a Muslim rapper. He's a rapper that happens to be Muslim.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like trying to find the line in that. But it's like the second, if you go to somebody that's like a hip hop fan and you're like, oh yeah, what are they like? Oh, what are you listening to? And you say Christian rap, they're automatically going to think it's a lesser version of rap.
Exactly.
Because you put the word Christian in front of it. We were talking about it the other day, where it's like a Christian lawyer is just a lawyer that happens to be Christian. You don't really see that on like their front billboard that says there's not a genre
on their business card.
Yeah, like that's like a nuance that like, oh, you don't have a Christian dentist. You have a dentist that happens to be Christian. So even like finding like what that line looks like.
I feel like too, most of these guys, like, I mean, some of the guys that we know or that like it kind of pigeonholes them, I feel like, sometimes in their careers, or like even in general, like what they're going to be doing with their like life and their lifestyles and different things like that. because I just, it's like this weird standard. And even like taking like a step backwards, like for most people that are like the generation older than us, it doesn't matter if you say Christian. Like if you hear the term like rap or hip hop, it automatically has like a negative connotation because like, and then you add Christian to it. It's like, well, like how can you redeem something that usually talks about X, Y, and Z that's like usually like degrading to women or talking about drugs and alcohol. And so like they have like these two things kind of working against them, where one is like the notion of hip hop, but then two, it's like the Christian side where it's like, for millennials or people who've never heard of Christian hip hop, they're like, oh, that sounds corny. Like, it's probably going to be like the Jesus, 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 like every other line. Yeah. And then for like the older person, it's going to be like, oh, like this is probably like a close, like get as close to the line as I can into like secular hip hop type of thing. So I feel like it's kind of like a lose-lose either way. But I mean, for me, like I feel like today's Christian hip hop like is better than ever. Like I feel like back in the day, and like shout out, I mean, like he was probably one of the only ones doing it was Lecrae. But like initially, like if I can be honest, some of the earlier stuff was not as good as his like newer stuff now. But like I think that they've really sort of found like a niche like in the Christian hip hop community, even with that working against them. That to me, it's like it's better than it has been before. But I think because of that, it's because of initially Christian, like in general. So like if it's Christian music, Christian like creativity type stuff, Christian athletes, like they used to just rip off people. Like it was like, let me use beats that have already been produced for hip hop. Let me use like these creative images and
remix.
It's like let me reuse like these like creative images in like our like stuff, but it was never original content. And so I think that's also why people weren't messing with it early on.
Yeah, so I'm about to play a snippet, and this is an interesting nuance to what we're talking about right now, because somebody like Kanye West that can put out a gospel album can do something differently than if Lecrae would have put out what I'm about to play. People would have been like, oh, this is the corniest thing in the entire world, blah, blah. Like, why would he do something like that? That's just such a ripoff. But it's Kanye doing it, so now it has this different connotation. But I'll play it right now. For those that don't know who Roddy Ricch is, he's a rapper that he's winning a bunch of awards and all of this stuff. But Kanye's Sunday service choir remixed the song, and I'm just going to play a little snippet of it. Let me see if I can find a better part.
Those keys, though.
But like,
that's got to be a TikTok reel, a real song or a real song.
But I mean, that's how like Christian hip hop, Christian rap
was,
and then any like sort of like inception or like start for Christian whatever, like you name it,
for sure.
Like it was just copycat stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like Christian clothing brands will just copy the Gucci font
right
and
now.
Change it to
Jesus.
And so I remember growing up, because for me, like when I was growing up, like, and this is something that like you guys know about me, but who for those who are watching, who call me pastor of this church, like I grew up listening to like explicit music, like back in the day. Like my first explicit album, and I'm sorry, Mom, again, I lied to her about this when I was a kid in Walmart, was the Marshall Mathers EP, and she was like, it says explicit content on the front of it. I was like, yeah, Mom, they have to put that on all like the CDs because just in case. And so she bought it for me. It was my first CD that I ever bought. That was a hip hop album, a rap album, and then growing up listening to Pac and to Biggie and to Nas and to like all these other artists. And so then when I got into youth group and the pastors and different people were like, you need to like change what you're listening to, because it's like the notion of like garbage in, garbage out sort of a thing. I was like, well, what's even in this space? Like what's out there?
Yeah.
And it was awful. It was terrible. And like they were like remixing like Alicia Keys songs. They were like remixing like all kinds of just crazy stuff. There was one that I saw that was like the OG R. Kelly Bump and Grind. It was like, I don't see nothing wrong with the little Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's
like,
not good. That's not good.
I'm like, dude, this is what we have? So I'm so glad that that's not where we are anymore. But I think that like we have a reputation in like the Christian world and in society of being people that aren't original.
Which is wild, because because if we proclaim to have a God that's the ultimate creator, what we should be doing should replicate. We should be like striving to pursue excellence and like original ideas.
Yeah.
If we know that we have a God that is the ultimate creator.
Yeah. And even if it's going to be its own thing, to make our own lane into what we want to make, or what we want it to look like, as opposed to just like copying whatever's out there, putting new lyrics to music that's already come out. Like, we need to be the ones driving our own creativeness in general.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things like you're not supposed to look to your left or to your right. Yeah. And kind of just like that creativity in general is supposed to come from within. Obviously, you're inspired by things.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, inspiration isn't the same as plagiarism.
No,
straight up copying.
Like straight up plagiarism. Like, to me, I was always like, dude, like, this is nuts. Like, there has to be something better than this. And so, like I'm saying, like, in today's day and age, like I am so glad at the space that we're in now, as far as Christian artists, Christian creatives, like people who own Christian clothing brands and different things like that. Like, and even like you talk about someone like a Jerry Lorenzo, like he's a Christian, but like, and his brand is fear of God, but it's like not, to your point, it's not like I'm a Christian creative or Christian clothing designer. Like, I'm just a guy who happens to be a Christian who's producing like clothing that like everybody is wearing. It doesn't matter what faith you have. Regardless. It doesn't matter where you're at. But like, it's to me, it's like never been a better season or like a cooler space to be a Christian, what have you, because there's so much originality, so much creativity that's happening. But man, it used to be rough out here.
Yeah. And doing your own thing and staying true to who you are has always been like a big thing. Like, some of the people I look up to in that case is like, for example, Toby and Wigwe.
Yeah.
He has been the same dude that started when he started making music.
One of the hardest rappers.
He is the same person regardless of.
Shout out to Houston. Shout out to Houston.
What Up RG is one of those people that started tapping into things that I connect with personally. For sure. Him challenging immigration policy and all that stuff in his album and speaking to the truth of what's happening in his life.
Yeah, it's dope.
I absolutely love that. And I guess Propaganda is another one.
Yeah.
Where it's not corny. He's talking about real issues. Absolutely. If you listen to the wordplay, you listen to all of it. These are real things, real issues tackled in a way that is not like overly like corny. Or super very like Jesus everything, you know, or in every
So I guess the question is, the word Christian can't be the problem.
No.
We know that. I mean, a Christian literally means a follower of Christ.
The connotations that come with it.
I think not just that. I think it's not the word, but it's like the perceived function of it. So like, if you are operating, and that's like the label, but you are operating in a way that you were not intended to operate, then now you are giving that a different definition that it was never meant to have. And so I think that's what's happening, right? Because like, Christian's a follower of Jesus, and like, to your point, you're saying, you know, we have a God who created everything. He's creative. So like, when we then are operating from a place of like imitating or plagiarizing or ripping off, you are basically giving that title or that thing a different definition than what it had been intended for in the first place. So in essence, like, not to sound dramatic, but like, you are misrepresenting God in that respect, right?
That's a bar.
Yeah.
Another thing too is like, just experiences that people have had with Christian people in general might also drive the perception of what Christianity really is. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
I've met Christian artists firsthand that have been like some of the meanest people I've ever met. And to me, I don't want to listen to them anymore. Like, why would I want to listen to that?
I think too, like, what has stifled creativity in the Christian world is, number one, like, not being original. But then for those who have found a niche, like, in the process, and have been able to make money off of it, they stay in those spaces for too long and don't pass it to the next.
You don't need to go anywhere else.
And so to me, it's like, what stifles creativity is like a lack of opportunity. And I think, like, if you're not providing opportunity for like the next generation, well, one, like, those who are strong enough and who have enough faith in themselves and in God, and God create, like, inspiring them and creating like stuff in them, they'll make it. But I think that, like, we as like young people desire mentorship, desire people that are going to pass off the baton and do stuff for us.
For sure.
But what I've found, man, like, is that people in those spaces, like, bro, when I was a kid, there were so many worship leaders, pastors, and people that were like leading the charge for like Christian worship and Christian what have you. and they were just making like money hand over fist. And then like I was like, why isn't there any like new people coming into like the space?
Because, I mean, you go on K-Love and they've been playing the same
that
song.
was it. Well, I'm saying that was like that's all K-Love was putting out there. That's all people were listening to, and there was like nothing happening or being reproduced. That's why I love what is happening with like a collective like Maverick City, or like even these other like younger collectives that are like our age.
For sure.
And like I said this on the last podcast, but like on when I watched the BET Awards, Kirk Franklin got an award for winning like this song that he did that was like a collaboration with him and the secular artist Little Baby. It was Little Baby.
Yeah.
And he actually had Mav City come up on stage, and he had this whole conversation about how like sometimes as people who have been there, done that, we can stay in a space for so long that it's just like we automatically assume that we're going to get the accolades, the awards, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we do nothing for those coming behind us. He had Mav City come up on stage. He's like, this award isn't for me. This is for the next generation. Hands them his award.
That's dope.
To me, it's like that sort of creates space now for people to operate in the gifts that they have and to be creative and not to be imitating or duplicating what someone else has done.
It's pushing boundaries in a new direction, giving people the keys to drive the car.
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah. And I think a part of that is like a pursuit of excellence. We talk about that a lot here with like, we might not have all of the tools that we want or all the tools to do whatever it is, but with what we have, we're going to pursue excellence and try to like do the best with that. I feel like that's something that gets overlooked often. It's the like, oh, well, this person can't sing, but they have a heart for it, so we'll put them on the stage. Like, that's not going to happen at like you can't get a record deal. Like, obviously, I'm not comparing this one-to-one with like the secular community or industry or whatever, but it's this level of like, okay, before we put you on the stage, we're going to give you vocal lessons. We're going to make sure you can do da-da-da-da. So when you get on stage, like we said, you're pursuing that excellence. It's one of those like, God honors preparation. And he takes our preparation further than we could do it on our own. It's not one of those like, I remember in high school or whatever grade I would be in, like not studying for a test. And I'd pull up and be like, God, whew, man, I know you got me just this one time. You got me, blah, blah. But it's like, can God do that? Obviously God can do that. But like, what he wants to do even more is to like take what I have and like the effort and energy that I give to something and to further it further than I could take it myself.
Yeah. I feel like and that's the other thing is that I love is that the space for Christian anything is really crowded now.
Yes.
And I think that it produces that spirit of excellence now.
Well, I would even challenge that, because that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Disney, and this is kind of like a tangent. Disney Plus basically Disney came out and said like they're going to be incorporating in like over like their next few years, incorporating LGBTQ plus characters and storylines within all of their stuff, from Marvel all the way down to the content they make for kids. And as Christians, that now makes us make a decision on are they going to be able to watch that, or what like do you have to pre-watch something?
Are you going to filter it?
For sure. Stuff, and I remember growing up, and there was the Veggie Tales and the like Prince of Egypt, where it's like content.
Bible Man.
That's a deep cut. Well, I don't know that about that.
I don't know anything about that.
I know about that.
But it was like
Bible Man. I don't know what that was.
It was content made specifically for kids, and it was like good. Like Veggie Tales ended up getting sold to, I think it was PBS or something. And it's no longer.
They took all
it's no longer a Christian.
And now it's on
just
Netflix.
a normal kid.
But it's like, we don't have like there's no alter so in some spaces I'll give you that it's super
crowded.
congested.
Not at all.
But like, imagine if a Pixar animator came out and was like, yo, you know what, I'm gonna make like a Christian cartoon,
or even wholesome regular cartoons,
and
that
like
kids
that,
can
like
just watch
there's a
in
space
general.
for that right now that's just not being occupied.
And that's the thing that like is upsetting to me, right? So I feel like it's only historically, and this might be too general, and if you disagree with me, you can write in. That's fine. I don't really care. But like, to me, it's like crowded. I feel like only crowded spaces in Christian spheres push creativity and excellence. And then when there's not, it's kind of like mediocrity is
for
king.
sure.
And it's like, if I can make money and if I can do like the least amount of work, then I'm good with that. And to me, it's like, man, what a sad day in the life of like the church, or even in Christianity, when it's like, I just want to get by because like I'm not being challenged or pushed, and like you can't just be like wanting to pursue excellence because you're trying to impact. But I also think it gets down to the point of like your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing
Yeah.
this? And I think initially, at least for any sort of Christian sphere of like creativity, music, sports, whatever, I think it started off with the why being like, I just want to make money, or I just want to be at a certain level of fame or celebrity. And then as spaces began to get crowded, people realized that like, although there was enough of pieces of this pie, they were getting smaller and smaller. And so it pushed that creativity. But we can't lean into mediocrity if the space isn't occupied, man. We got to lean into excellence.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, it is time. It is time for our hot take of the day. I'm going to ask this question this time, and you're going to answer it. So you're going to give the hot take.
Here we go.
Okay,
well,
ready?
hold on. Before we do this hot take.
You can answer it too.
Okay, before we do this hot take, the last episode had a very special hot take from one.
It's not over.
I said it. It wasn't a hot take. It was a hot fake.
It was very, very fake.
It's
I just
not
wanted
over.
to acknowledge the fact that is very unlikely.
I just want to
at this
acknowledge
point.
that the Lakers are not going to win another championship in the next 4 years.
Ooh.
I will say that.
That's
But that's not a hot
crazy.
take. That's not a hot take. This is my hot take. You both can answer this, okay?
Okay, let's hear it.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? What
can be.
What it can be? No, the answer has to be yes or no. That's terrible.
Is it a sandwich?
Is it a sandwich?
So what quantifies something as being a sandwich? It's meat. Does
between
it
two
have
pieces
does it
of
have to
bread.
be meat? No, because you could have vegetarian sandwiches.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no?
I think a hot dog is a sandwich.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think anything between two pieces of bread.
Is-
That's false.
Okay.
That's false.
as a sandwich.
Is
How is that false?
okay? So then
Well,
is
so hold on. Let's go back. Is a hot dog bun 2 pieces of bread?
It is.
No, it's not. It's just cut in half.
Oh, you can rip them apart.
You can
okay.
rip
So then
anything
is
It's a guideline.
so then is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes.
Yeah.
What else would it be?
A hamburger?
You would give it a whole genre for itself.
Okay.
So a hot dog is a sandwich.
I think a hot dog is a sandwich.
If a hamburger,
Well, that's the hot take
if
for
a hamburger
today.
is a hamburger, then a hot dog is a hot dog.
That's the hot dog. So that's the hot take. So
hot
The hot dog.
that's the hot dog.
dog.
That's the hot take. If you didn't know that, according to these guys, a hot dog is a
Hot
sandwich.
dog is a sandwich. I just wanted to circle back real quick into the Steph Curry Christian artist
Yes.
or Christian athlete type of thing. One question that we were talking about earlier, we were talking about this in the car earlier, is what does it look like to actually be humble? Like in whatever you do, when you're seeking excellence and when you're seeking to do what you can do, like putting all the work in. Let's use this Steph Curry example, where if somebody goes up to Steph and like, yo, you're the greatest shooter of all time, blah, blah, and he's like, nah, man, nah, blah, blah, and like, that's what a lot of people would want his response to be. But we're talking about like, statistically,
literally is. There is no
you
other way
are
around it.
the best shooter. And obviously that's like a very specific example.
Yeah.
But it's this like is that humble? Is like in always deferring or pretending like you're not putting in all these hours? Like what is the biblical principle of humility? Like what does that actually look like?
Yeah, well, the Bible says that those who humble themselves before the Lord, they will be lifted up. I think that when you are being acknowledged for achievement and when you are being honored for achievement, I think what matters isn't necessarily your response in the moment, but your response in a lifetime. I think that like, obviously, like, and I'll break it down because some people might be confused by that. I think that like if someone is going to give you a compliment, right? When you give a girl a compliment and tell her she's beautiful, she's not going to be like, no, I'm ugly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think in like the same way,
Some of them be doing some weird
some of
stuff
them
like
might,
that.
some
But
of them
yeah.
might.
Go ahead.
Depends.
You know what I'm saying though? Like you, so if someone is paying honor or giving someone a compliment who has achieved the greatest achievements that you can receive, like for what we're talking about Steph in basketball, like I think that he would be okay to receive that compliment and receive that honor. But I think what starts to happen though is if you allow the honor that you're receiving from people not to be transitioned then into your relationship with God, right? So I think it's like those who humble themselves before the Lord will be lifted up. So if people are honoring and praising you, it cannot impact who you are at your core and what you do.
Yeah.
It has to be this like transitionary thing where it's like, thank you for this. I'm giving it back to God.
That's good.
And
that's
so I think that's kind of the heart of this and of all this. Because at the end of the day, like regardless of accolades or praise, bro, house, money, health, kids, like he has all these other things, right? And so that's the part of like, if you live humbly, God will lift you up more so than praise and accolades, but in like what he's blessing you with, so you can be a blessing. So
for sure. I like that.
Yeah, and I asked this of Falabi. So like, what about someone like LeBron, who's like extremely confident?
For sure. Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, I mean, I don't know LeBron's life, so I don't know if he.
But I'm saying he's been like the best.
Yeah,
at basketball
for sure.
ever since he started. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think a lot of people would attribute his confidence in himself as cockiness.
Yeah, there's a fine line between confidence and being conceited, and that line is pride. And so I think that you have to be you have to be very careful when you're doing that, because I mean I know pastors who teeter that line sometimes.
Talk about
that's
it.
what I'm saying.
And so I think that you have to be, dude, self-awareness is huge.
Yeah.
And I think like at
Good
the end
people around
of the
you
end
is
of the
huge.
day, it's like you have to realize, am I confident in who God has created me to be and who I am in God? Or am I confident and it's going to be conceited as a result to be like, I'm my own man. These are my gifts. These are my talents, and I accomplished this. When in actuality, God has the ability to be like, nope, done. You're done. Like ACL tear, Achilles tear, your career's over. But like it's God's grace that allows people to continue to do what they do at a high level. And so I think like if you draw those two comparisons between the two, I don't know LeBron personally, nor do I know Steph personally, but just like on paper, maybe he'll come to the church. But like if you just look at those, like based on what we see in media and on paper, like you would see one who is confident but not conceited, and you would see one that kind of straddles the fence. I think it kind of goes in and out. So yeah, don't be prideful. Stay humble.
Okay.
How do you, as a pastor that has a flock of people, that's such a Christian-y word, flock of people.
A group.
As a
collective.
As a group. I apologize. As a group, a squad of people that like look up to you, like they look up to you as a pastor. One, how does that not get to your head? And two, how does that not terrify you?
It's honestly, there's a lot of pressure. I think like there are times where I feel like I have to be careful of like how I say things and what I say.
Yeah.
I think for those that are closest to me and that are my friends and that are my family, like know my heart and know who I am at my core. And so even if something comes out the wrong way, even if I present something in the wrong manner, like I'm not judged based on those things. Like to your point right at the beginning of this, like if Steph's, slips up and cusses, or if like he has like one of these moments where he's doing stuff that's like out of the norm for what's been portrayed in the media, then all of a sudden people are sort of like, the general population is sort of like, oh, is he even a Christian?
Yeah.
I feel like on a lesser level, like that sometimes happens with pastors and people that are in like the faith, where it's like, and they're judged not based on who they are, but based on just like the one immediate action that happens.
For sure.
And to me, I don't think that's fair. I think that we have to give grace, but also like I think it comes down to consistency, right? So like for me, like if I'm with Juan and Juan does like a one-off where he cusses, which that's just an
that's
example.
not a one-off.
That's not me.
That's just like a one-off, right? Like,
Mom, I'm sorry.
I'm not going to like completely blow up and just like
For sure.
look at him like he's like the scum of the earth,
Yeah.
because consistently, right?
That's not who he's proven
That's
to
not
be.
who he's proven to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that grace comes in. So for me, there's an extreme amount of pressure. At the same time, though, I've always been like the type that like has been, I want to walk humbly first before anything else. And respect, because I feel like that's also something that's lacking in the space.
Yeah.
It's just a mutual respect. Like, let's just start there and then like, let's see where it goes.
For
And
sure.
so, yeah.
Yeah. I remember my dad, he would reprimand us for not calling you Pastor Derek. We'd call him Derek on Sunday, and he's like, nope, that's Pastor Derek. You don't call him Derek.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing too. This is like a completely just out of left field, but like, I feel like when I first got here, I didn't like people calling me pastor, because I thought that was being humble. So I was like, I don't, because like from previous places of ministry, like I was like, people idolize the pastors and people put them on this pedestal. And it was like this whole thing. It's like, this isn't God. Like, this is a person. And, we had something like that here at the church, like before I got here, where a pastor was looked at as like this, like just extremely holy and righteous person, which is what we're supposed to pursue.
Yeah.
But then they had like a very real human fault and thing that happened in their lives, which ended up in him being removed from here, and it hurt and devastated people. So there's something to be said, like when you idolize a person over who God is, then like you end up getting hurt. But if you put God in that place of authority, and number one, like you'll never endure like that type of hurt from God, because he's a loving father. For me, I think that in this whole process of not telling people to call me pastor, what I found was this, is it undermined not my authority, but the authority of the position of who a pastor is. And so now it's like I'm just Derek.
Yeah.
And like we've been working on that. We've done our culture and values and different things like that. But it's a lesson that I've learned that like humility isn't abdicating position or responsibility.
Big words.
But it's stepping into it, but being led by God in that process.
Say that again.
So humility isn't abdicating a title or position. Abdicating means to be removed or not to be in that, but stepping into it and honoring God in the process of that, and having him being the one that leads you.
That's good.
Rather than you trying to be in the position leading other people on your own. And so I think that's huge. And I that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in this whole process.
That's very good. So now we're going to do a little phone a friend section.
Phone a friend.
We're going to call our good friend Moses Kinna. He is a director. He's a photographer. He's an overall creative.
He's an awesome husband.
Awesome husband. Great dude.
Has an even better wife.
Yes. Shout out Rachel. What question should we ask him?
I think we should ask him like a question about the space.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's call him. Let's link him in right now.
Here we go. This is our first time doing this, by the way.
He better answer this call.
He might have nodded off.
Yo.
Moses Kinna.
My brother.
Welcome to the podcast. How you doing, my guy?
Good, man. I feel like y'all up to something, man.
What up, Mo? It's Derek.
What up, man?
What up? You're on the Work Week podcast, man.
It's me, Juan, and Derek.
Oh, man, it's an honor.
Man. Hey. But yeah, we just wanted to get you on here today. We're talking about just kind of like Christian creatives, or what it looks like in this space to identify as a Christian. Sometimes like putting the word Christian in front of whatever you're talking about almost makes it like cheapens it, makes it a little corny. So we just want to kind of get your 2 cents on how you navigate the space as a Christian. Yeah. Did you have a specific question?
Like how do you navigate the space as a Christian, and how, like maybe not even without words, but how do you honor God in the process, right? Because if you know Mo, he's a man of few words, but like how do you honor God in that space? Maybe not necessarily being like a Christian photographer, a Christian a creative, but being a creative person that is a Christian.
Yeah, I think I'm still going through that process.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, just during my photography journey, when I started off, I was shooting a lot of music, and it may not have been music I should be listening to, but there was definitely a gift that I had and a work ethic that I had that grew. But what I remember doing when I wanted to take photography seriously was I prayed and I talked to God, and I just asked him to direct me in the right direction creatively, because I knew this was something I liked, but I wasn't sure if this was purpose driven. So every step of the way, there was just things that were happening, opportunities that were popping up that like there's no way this is just on my own doing. With just getting connected with labels, with artists, with just great people very quickly. Like, the third month into taking photography seriously, I got featured in The Hundreds. It's like a clothing brand. They had this magazine that they would put out like for their spring, summer catalog, fall, winter, and they would have a creative section. And, I got featured in that.
Wow.
And that was just like the snowball effect of like, I think it was just confirmation of like, something I would continuously pray for and just ask God for direction. And those were just like the little confirmations. And I think more now than ever, I'm definitely a lot more selective in what I do or what I invest my time in. And I always have to remind myself, like, how could I honor God, or am I honoring God? And a lot of times it is a battle of like, am I honoring myself through this, or am I just putting up a front of like, hey, I really want to, let's say, shoot this basketball game, but is this, for my own doing, or is this to, really connect with others, and is it just God allowing me an opportunity to speak the word, even if it's not like, with a microphone, stuff like that, but just having, a one-on-one conversation with a friend, which, luckily I've been able to do, being at Warrior games and things like that. So, I think the biggest thing was just staying grounded through the creative process and just reminding myself that like God can easily take it away if He pleases, and also understanding that if God is telling me that this is not the direction to go into, then I have to abide by that as much as maybe my heart posture says, I want to kind of just do what pleases myself and things like that. So I'm just constantly reminded by that. That's just usually how I navigate.
That's so important, man, because I caught on to something you said earlier in this conversation where it's like, I feel like, and this is what we've been talking about, and this is probably like a good place to like sort of land and live at the tail end of this, is like, we need Christian creatives, Christian artists, Christian athletes to not operate like as like copycats or people that rip off other people.
Yeah.
Like, we need to live in that place of excellence. Because like Mo's getting, and like to your point, Mo, like Mo's getting to be in like places where like if he was mediocre, he would not be able to be in.
For sure.
And it gives him an opportunity, like maybe not in word, but like in who he is, to be a light in that place.
Yeah.
And like dark things don't drive out dark things. Only light drives out darkness.
That's good.
And so to me, it's like, if we want to change like this idea of like being a Christian, whatever, is corny, or they're just copy, they're not original. Like, we need to pursue excellence, because there's like whole like spheres and environments and places that we can actually go and be that light.
Yeah.
And if Mo wasn't doing what he was doing, like, he would never get that opportunity. And so I think at the end of the day, like, to change sort of like the narrative of Christian whatever being this like mediocre or this like less than thing, but rather like operating in excellence and pursuing that will get you into a place where you can be a witness. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Well, thanks, Mo. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem. Yeah, I just wanted to add. I just wanted to add to that, as far as like the I don't know what the word is, but there's like the misconception that, like you said, that Christians can't be original, or it has to be like this like gimmick, or like a like Walmart great value version of whatever is out.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, like, I think we see it now in kind of this creative age of there are Christians that are, bold and still putting out dope stuff. And I think there may have been a gap in between that, maybe from like, as far as originators that have, created gospel music and things like that. But I think I definitely see it more now than ever, because I was on that side of, when I was like 12 or 13, I just felt like, Christian rap was like kind of corny and all that stuff. And like the only artist I was really rocking with was Bizzle back in the day.
Bizzle.
Shout out Bizzle.
Man. Bay Area, right?
Yeah. No, Bay Area, he's from, where's Bizzle from?
I thought he's
From
Bay.
the South, I think.
He's from the South.
He's always up here though.
Yeah, I feel that. Derek was literally saying exactly what you're saying.
Bro, this is just confirmation of this entire podcast, because that's literally what we were just talking about.
But I mean, that's hopeful. That means that we're like on the right path. Like if that's one thing that we can take is like, it might have been kind of whack before, but like we're heading on a upward trend, which I'm excited for, like what it will look like when our kids are our age, like what they'll be saying. Will it even like, what will that even look like then? Yeah. Well, dope, Mo. We appreciate you, bro. You're always a friend of the podcast. We'll probably be having you on here again soon.
Oh, yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right,
appreciate you. Hey, and tell everybody, tune into the last podcast with about Christian dating.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Bro,
thank
you
sir.
should have been on that one. Mo has given me some of the best dating advice I've ever heard in my life.
We have to have him on next time. Thanks, Mo.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, y'all.
Later.
All right.
Mo.
Man, shout out Mo.
That's the homie. That's dope, though. That's a very, like, it's one thing to be critical of your own people, which, like, that's a line that we always try to, like, walk. Like, yes, Christians are humans, so they have their flaws. But it's also, like, I also want to make sure we reiterate, like, we see that there's a lot of progress.
Oh, yeah.
happening in this
100%.
space.
Absolutely.
100%.
It's super encouraging to know that there are people out there doing stuff and pursuing excellence, because that's what God asks and requires of us in our creativity, in our walk with Him, is to pursue excellence. That doesn't always mean perfection. That means to strive for it.
I think, man, to just like, I think we kind of got to land the plane, but like, I feel like, I'm so critical and so just like conscious of this whole thing, because I mean, I'm going to say this, and this is like another like adjunct hot take that's not really a hot take, but is that I think that there are more talented and better Christian whatever than what you would see in the world. I think that it's just a matter of having that confidence, having that community, and then having like those like connective pieces too to push people to do that.
For sure.
And so I think the reason why I'm so critical is like, dude, the world is so collaborative. Like there's so many people that are like, I was like watching this doc the other day, and like people that are putting together like albums or putting together artworks or putting together fashion. Like it's not just one person leading the charge. It's like a whole collective of people. And so I feel like as Christians, if we were more collaborative and we were more cooperative with one another, bro, we would occupy every space and be at the top of every space.
For sure.
And so I think that's why for me it's a conviction that I have, and that's why I'm so critical, because I'm like, not that the Christian whatever is like sucky. It's that we probably are the best in every space, but we just need to collaborate and push people to be the best and to pursue excellence.
For sure.
We were talking about that in the car earlier today. It's about investing in the people in our church, like telling people pursuing excellence. Like, for example, someone necessarily does not know how to sing very well.
Yeah.
Hiring a vocal coach to try to make them better and put them in a place where they can be, better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in my own creative journey, photography and all that stuff, if it wasn't for you putting me in places to like do so as well. Like investing in people,
for sure,
investing your time, even if it's not even monetary, just time. There was far and few in between times where me and you, I could only get conversations with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how would I do this? How would I frame this? How would I teach me, like, what should I look at? What can I be reading? Investing your time, not necessarily like all of yours. And if you have the money to do so, like, invest in your people and then see where that takes them. Because you never know who the next creative director is, who the next photographer. Mo said it took him 3 months of taking it seriously, and God put him in a place
for sure
where that many people can't get to, even if they wanted to. You know what I mean?
That's good, man. I think some takeaways from today: 1, be humble. If you're a Christian in any position, be humble. Be humble. I think number 2, another takeaway: if you're a Christian and you're in any position, be collaborative. And if you're a Christian and you're in any position, be excellent. I think those are probably the 3 takeaways, and that's how we start to sort of chip away at the facade or at the appearance of being corny, being a copycat, or not being good enough. That's how we do it, and we do it together.
Celebrate each other too. That's a very important one as well.
Facts.
That's how we do it.
When people do great work, let them know that they do great work.
Hey, you're doing a great job.
Thank you,
Lobby.
You are doing a great job.
Juan, you still working.
Well, I think that's all, man. I think that's all. I think that's the best way to land it and to end it, man. Like, be humble, be collaborative, be excellent, and you can't miss. You can't lose. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another Work Week podcast. I'm Derek. This is Juan. Mike Falabi on the beats, and we are so happy to have you guys again. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week.